lovely people here.
There should be about 56 joining, so I'm really excited.
Excellent.
Well, should I be going to gallery view? What view are you in, guys?
I'm in gallery view.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
brave
everyone.
bunch view, as I call it.
Wait, I recognize my Star Wars friend.
Hi, everyone.
Hi,
Everyone,
everybody.
thanks for joining us.
Hi.
It was just a minute. We're waiting for it. So far, we have 59.
Okay.
As we watch the numbers tick up, it's like a pledge drive.
Yep,
This is I call this
65.
Brady bunch view.
Is that Lisa and your mom? Hey.
We should
And
look
it's Carrie, right? My Star Wars buddy, Carrie. Yes. I miss seeing y'all.
We miss seeing you.
Barbara made it.
We were so disappointed to have to cancel this tour, and
It was, yeah.
was
So
it
thank you, Hub City, for hosting us tonight.
Thank you for making this possible.
Oh, we're happy to have you all three. I feel so lucky.
Or the three that.
All right, I think that's everyone who's waiting. So I'm going to go ahead and just offer a quick intro.
Okay.
So as everyone knows, we have Karen White, Beatriz Williams, and Lauren Willig here with us today. Three wonderful best-selling authors, and today we're joining together to talk about All the Ways We Said Goodbye. And this is their third collaboration. Oh, Beatriz has a cup that's special, her mug. This is their third collaboration, and they are three just fabulous women and friends that are joining us today. And we also have some tri-signed, what they call it, book plates for their books. So I'm just going to let them go ahead into it. I don't think they need more introduction than that.
we usually don't. We can launch in and just talk. So that's our usual.
You may have noticed.
It's kind of how we started out. Yeah, that's how everybody always starts the conversation, is how the heck do three authors get together and write a book? And you know, as Lauren likes to say,
Three authors walked into a bar. And it was true. It was a real bar. We're not just saying it because it sounded good. And we really, despite certain rumors, we were not put together like the Spice Girls.
no.
Even though all
There have been alcohol involved during the whole inception.
Well, there was a lot of alcohol involved, and the reason is this: it was the summer of 2012, and I remember this well because 2012 was the summer that my first book came out overseas. If you haven't read it, I'm sure Hub City would be happy to get you a copy. But it was, you know, obviously as my debut novel, it was going to be this wild success. It was going to sit on the bestseller list for at least a year and be made into a movie. You know, by Steven Spielberg or somebody equally. I don't know. I think this is not Chris Nolan's bag, really. Well, actually, there's time travel. Is his latest one time travel? I don't know why he didn't option my book for that. But anyway,
you'll have to.
So I was full of optimism, and then my first sort of stop on the book tour was, I've been told that what you do is you go and you sign all the books in the airport bookstore, so they can't return them. And so I did, and I'm in there, and like I'm signing the 4 copies of Overseas that they had. And while I am signing those copies, I think at least 15 women and possibly a few men came in and bought copies of the book that actually did sit on the bestseller list all year, which was, you've never heard of it. You're a high-class audience, but there was
They have no idea what you're talking about.
of Gray, which for some
Were
reason
there shades of gray involved?
bought a lot more copies of that than my book. So anyway, there I was. We were at this, you know, writers' conference, and I was drowning my sorrows at the bar, lots of wine.
And meanwhile, Karen and I were also drowning our sorrows. There may have been some, you know, mixed drinks, some pomegranate martinis flowing as well, because we were both
martini involved too. But go on. Okay.
Yeah, there was. That was a very good chocolate martini, and an espresso martini. But basically, bottom line, we were all drowning our sorrows because Karen and I had both been around the block many times at that point. I think we were each on our 10th books.
Something
but
like.
The thing that never changes is how incredibly lonely book tour is. And we both come back from one of those tours separately, where you go, you have your event, and you can't go to the hotel bar afterwards because some weird guy will invariably sidle up to you. So you go back up to your room and you order.
Oncologist conference is inevitably going on at the time also.
Yeah.
So.
Mm-hmm. And then the room service guy always walks in and gives you this pitying look and says, "Is all of that for you?" And it's the most incredibly lonely experience. And so there we were, knocking back the drinks, talking about the woes of the writer's life and saying, wouldn't it be amazing if we could just do this together always?
So we came up with the idea, just sort of, we were having so much fun together, chatting and talking books and tour, whatever. We're like,
that. It's been a long time.
oh my gosh, we should write a book together. And so we started coming up with this wonderful plot, and we were like, oh my gosh, we could get our publisher to pay for not just, we could get them to pay for like a research trip. So let's pick a fun place where we'd want to go, and
Well, we thought this was the best idea ever, because could you go wrong? The fields of Scotland, playful sheep, men in kilts.
It would be
surefire
like Jamie Fraser meets Christian Grey. Yeah, I mean, it could not lose.
It was a win-win-win. And our last name all started with W. So, I mean, what's not like? So, as luck would have it, my editor walks into the bar, past the bar, and we're like, Cindy.
That's her spilling out of it.
And by the way, my editor doesn't drink. I don't know what's wrong with her.
It's a lot of water.
Yes, lots of water. And she
sober.
We have the best idea. She just sort of like, and Lauren, you do this best, in her kindergarten voice said,
why don't you go upstairs, take a few aspirin, get some rest. You'll feel better in the morning. Because there's this kindergarten teacher voice that editors use on excitable authors when they're afraid you will bite. So we sidled off upstairs feeling, really completely confused that she hadn't signed the contract on the spot.
Right there, because it was such a great idea. Yeah. So
right to the business center.
So we woke up the next afternoon or whenever it was.
We did not feel better.
Yeah, we didn't feel better. And happily, we'd forgotten about the whole Scotland angle. But the thing that the idea of writing a book together. Now, we were each successful in our own rights, writing our own books, but I think the three of us it's not that we're ambitious, but I guess we are, but I think to stay on top of where we are in our writing we have to challenge ourselves. I think if whatever line of work you're in, if you don't challenge yourself, you kind of get stale. And I think the three of us equally thought this was a fabulous opportunity to challenge ourselves. Was there a reason for us to write a book together and see what happens? No, but it excited us. And as a writer, anybody who's in a creative field, if there is something that excites you, that is something you need to pursue. And I'd kind of had an idea in the back of my head about three women, unrelated, living in the same residence or building.
Yeah, so, but not that kind of building, not those kind
No,
We're
not our house.
Garlands.
That's a whole different book. But I actually, I had a much classier building in mind, which is my own husband's family way back, and we will not go through the whole story of how this house passed out of the family, but owned this beautiful double-fronted mansion many, many years ago on the Upper East Side of Manhattan. And lo and behold, it turned out to be just the perfect setting for this book that was going to span the Gilded Age and the 1920s and World War II. Three different women, three different generations, all in the same building with this central mystery wrapped around it. So we just, Karen got on a plane. I got on a train from Connecticut, and Lauren just walked a few blocks from, her apartment.
And it was a real hard
It was freezing. I hate the cold.
It was March 28th, Karen.
Freezing.
It was 70 degrees in New York.
Wrapped up in like furs, she's got the whole thing. But the long story short, and we ended up, having this amazing time brainstorming this novel. We outlined it very carefully, chapter by chapter.
We had no idea what we were doing. We
were just having fun.
Well,
Really?
because if you'd asked any of us before if we could have written with anyone else, if we could relinquish control of our plots and our characters, we would have looked at you and said you were absolutely crazy. And we really, really, really wanted to write something together so our publisher would pay for our bar bill. But we had no idea if we could write together. And so we all converged and we plopped ourselves down in Alice's teacup on 74th Street in Lex. And the most amazing and magical thing happened. It wasn't just that we made 20 pots of tea magically disappear. It was that we realized our minds worked together. That when one of us said something, the other, instead of saying, "Are you crazy?" would jump on it and said, "Oh my goodness, and then what if we did this too?" And you know, when you're working alone,
wonderful thing. And I think what became very apparent was that we respected each other. Otherwise, you couldn't work with each other. And we really, really cherished the creativity that we each brought to the table. And it was really nothing short of magic. I could not imagine having that sort of round robin creative plotting session with anybody else but these two. And it's a good thing their last names started with W, or I couldn't have worked with them. So
we would have had you have changed your names.
Yeah.
But it's because the thing I remember from that plotting session, so if anyone's read any of our books together, you'll remember Prunella Schuyler. And that plotting session was when we came up with Prunella together. And I always have this image of Prunella in the flesh, sitting there on the table between us. Because that's what it felt like. This character was so real in all of our heads as we were discussing her. It was as if she were there with us. And that never happens when you're talking about characters with other authors.
Right.
It
No,
was
it was
amazing.
Yeah. And what was so incredible too is that, you know, we each wrote a different character, different time setting or whatever, but I think the reason why, and the number one comment we've gotten for all three books, because we've done this 3 times now, is how seamless it is. And I think it's because when we plot these books, we don't plot them as in, okay, this is your character, this is your character, this is your character. These are our characters in our story. And so we own all of the characters. We own the entire story. So when we write it, we're just writing a portion of the story. It's not ours. And I think that helps to blend our voices as we write the entire book.
Yeah, I mean, I think in almost all cases, we haven't picked our characters until we've already plotted the book out together. So I think that makes a huge difference. We are all so invested in these characters, and yet because we are just sort of so much in sync, you know, we just really trust each other to develop those characters, to develop that storyline in the best possible way. And, you know, I think it's that level of trust. It's that level, I mean, you know, friendship is almost like too kind of thin a word, I think, for, you know, for the bond that, and the beautiful thing is that bond has just developed and gotten richer the more of these books we write. And we're here to talk about our
and the more endless text we send to each other. Someday, you know, if you think our books are long, you should see our text chains. Someday the 50-volume set will be published, carefully edited by our progeny.
Redacted, yeah.
Yeah.
Redacted, deeply redacted. So anyway, long story short, we're not going to tell you like the whole story of all 3 books, but we wrote The Forgotten Room, and that came out and surprised our editor and our agents.
Well, because what you must know was we so scared Karen's editor with 50 Shades of Plaid that when we went to our agents, our editor, yes, that was a long time ago, but they were so scared. They said, you know, really? You want to do that Plaid book? And we said, no, this is a real book. We promise there are no sheep and no Scotland. This is
sadly.
Sad face. But they did not think it was going to be any good at all. And so when we turned it in, it was the funniest thing. We get this email back from Cindy, Karen's editor, saying, wow, that was good.
Like surprise. It was insulting. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And then it hit the New York Times list, and they were also, again, incredibly surprised.
So it's, you know, then we wrote The Glass Ocean. Again, we write round robin. We don't pick our characters until the end. And the thing that's I know a lot of people try, cute doggy, by the way. A lot of people try to guess who writes what, because a lot of you read I would say most of you, and if you're not, you should read all of our single books, but a lot of you try to guess who writes what. And don't be offended when we tell you you got it wrong, because our editors have gotten it wrong. But I think that's part of the joy of these books, is that these are our projects. And when we pick a character to write about, it's not because we're familiar with that character. Remember, we're all about doing something outside the box. And when we pick our characters, we sometimes think, let's do the unexpected. Let's challenge ourselves and write against type. And Beatriz has a lovely way that she puts this. How do you put it, Beatriz? How do we confuse our readers? Oh, wait, your audio is off. I can't hear you.
Where are you? We lost you.
Beatriz dropped off a second ago. I'm waiting to see if she comes back up.
Oh no, there's a crazy thunderstorm here right now.
Okay. I know, it was very weird. Everyone was frozen except me, but I'm guessing that I was gone and you couldn't see me, but everyone was completely frozen.
Yeah,
and suddenly I came back.
Okay.
So it's like I just left to, anyway, I'm back now. So yes, so we're, we like to kind of mess with our readers a little bit, because that's what we do. And so we might, for example, give Karen the Southern character, and because, that's what she's comfortable with. Or we might know that you guys might think that she has the Southern character, so we will deliberately not give her the Southern character. Or maybe we know that you would know that we would be smart enough not to give her the Southern character, so we did give her the Southern character. You see how it goes? Or maybe we just take it one step further.
That's right.
Exactly. So, it kind of goes on and on and on. We love to leave red herrings. We love to, to play against type, but then sometimes we really like to dig in there and get into our type and just relish it. And so we just have a lot of fun with that. And sometimes we have occasionally had people guess right, but the funny thing is, I would say you would think that 1 out of 3 times people would get it right? Wait, or what are the odds? I don't know. I don't remember my statistics, of course, but you know what I mean? Like, people should get it right, a certain amount of the time. But you know what? I would say it's actually quite rare that people guess right.
Very rare.
Well, after that first book, we did start deliberately messing with people. We've all read each other's books. So if you see references to any of our individual characters, it doesn't mean that person wrote it. We might deliberately be putting that in there just to confuse you.
Yes.
Because we really thought it would be blazingly obvious who had written what with that first book. And so when our editor sent back the wrong edits to the wrong authors, we thought she was just having an off day. Because she doesn't drink, she doesn't drink caffeine either. We figured, okay, all she has is water. Maybe she just,
carrot sticks, I think,
Yeah, and so that was why. But then we moved publishing houses with the second book, and that editor also sent the wrong edits to the wrong authors, which was when we realized, wow, people really can't tell.
And I've had this editor for, most of my career, and she still did not get. And I think the thing is, I think people are paying attention to the wrong thing. I hate to give away clues here, but it's not the details of the story and who the character is that you should be paying attention to. It's the voice.
Yeah.
It's
right. We all have our own tells.
It's the narrative voice, and it obviously shifts and changes because once you're deep in the point of view of the character, you take on the voice of that. But there's certain things that I think that certain ways of describing things that are typical of me or typical of Lauren or typical of Karen. And if you pay attention to the voice saying the words, I think you might, you won't get distracted by all the physical clues that's in the book.
Right. I will say that in The Glass Ocean, in one of the scenes, one of the characters is walking through the streets of New York and sees somebody walking a Havanese dog. So everybody thought that had to be me because I have 2 Havanese. And you may or may not be correct, but those are what we call the little red herrings that we throw at you to confuse you.
because we're just lovely like that.
Yeah, we are. It's fun. So anyway, so here we are now. The first two books sold very well, again, surprising our publishing houses. And so we signed a contract for a third one. And that's when we decided, I can never tell you the inception points where we decide where the next book comes from. It seems to like.
I think we did think, it would be really great to set a book at the Paris Ritz because, we could go to Paris. And that was the original plan. I think Karen, who is sort of our house mom, our den mother, made all the arrangements for the trip, right, Karen?
I booked 3 suites at the Paris Ritz for 3 weeks. And then we told our husbands about it and they kind of were like, hell no.
And we were like, please, we will we will pay for it with our advance and we will get a nanny for
and one for the
kids
children
for you and still no. So we did not end up getting to go to the Paris Ritz, but luckily we have all been to Paris. We were able to draw on our memories of the place as well as considerable amount of research that we did. 3 women, 3 different time periods as before, one during the First World War, one during the Second World War, and one during the 1960s, all tied around this central mystery to do with a missing relic from a very valuable jeweled relic from that belongs to the family of one of the women in the book.
Yes. So we start, the book starts off with, it's 1960s, and we meet, I cannot even think of her name. Babs. No, we need,
right.
Our book for this book seems so long ago now. It literally seems like it was during the First World War.
I know, we were just on tour, but it opens, it's 1960s. Remember, we had World War I, World War II in 1960s, but we open with 1960s and we meet Babs Langford, who is I know, stop it.
It has an inside joke to do with it.
Yeah, we will never share until 200 years after our death.
It's in the redacted text chains.
Yes. But anyway, so we meet Babs, and Babs is the sort of woman you wish was your neighbor, your sister. She is a widow, a young widow. Her husband had been in France during the war. He'd come back a broken man. She's much younger than he is. He was her older brother's best friend. They lived on neighboring estates in England. And she has loved him since she was a very young child, but with the love of a young child. He was always her hero. And so when he came back a broken man, whispering the name of another woman, she nursed him back to health. And when he was healthy, he asked her to marry him, and she did. Although at that time, a letter had arrived from a woman who only signed the letter Le Fleur, saying, if you still love me, meet me at the Ritz this Christmas Eve or New Year's Eve. And she does the one thing, because he's so broken and so wounded and still so sick, she hides the letter. So he never gets it. They get married. They have 3 children. They have a relatively happy life until he dies from cancer relatively young. So she's a young widow, and she is sort of mourning him, mourning their lives, knowing that she was never his first choice, and knowing that he died without knowing about the letter that had been sent to him. So while she's still grieving, she gets a letter from an American lawyer, Drew, what's his last name?
Bowden.
Not
the college.
Sorry, it's a running joke in the book. Drew Bowden. And he is saying that his father was in the U.S. Secret Service in France, in Paris during the war, and had been betrayed by a spy for the Nazis named Le Fleur. And he has reason to believe that Babs' husband, who has recently died, Kit Langford, knew this Le Fleur, and he is on the woman's trail to find her and to bring her to justice and to clear his father's name. And he asks her if she will meet him at the Ritz to help him solve this mystery. And because she's at such loose ends, she decides why not? I'm going to Paris. And so she goes to Paris to meet Drew Bowden. And of course, that's when she starts unraveling the past. Go ahead. Who's next?
Well, no, and then we go to, we move back, way back in time to the First World War, when Orly the Paris is on the brink of being overrun by the Germans, and Orly flees to her family's estate in order to save this precious relic that belongs to her family from being taken by the Germans. There is a legend that says that if this relic falls out of the family's hands, then France will fall. So she goes to defend her family's estate and to defend the relic. When she arrives there, however, the estate is already under the control of the Germans, and a young German lieutenant walks in. It's somebody that she remembers from her grandmother's salon at the Paris Ritz, and a relationship develops between the two of them in which their loyalties are both tested.
And then we jump from one uneventful time period to another, to World War II, where we meet Daisy, Aurélie's daughter, who has grown up with her eccentric American grandmother at the Ritz. Now, poor Daisy has grown up in the shadow of her mother, who is a major French heroine. They practically put her on the money. And all she wants is to lead a normal life. She knows there's something a little dodgy about her parentage. Apparently her father was a French war hero. Her parents married during the war, but she never met her father. And there's something a little hush-hush about it all. So all she wants is a quiet, normal domestic life. So she marries the quietest, most normal person she can find, a bureaucrat named Pierre.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, Pierre. And she quickly realizes that, boring and normal shouldn't necessarily be the same thing, and that she may have made a big mistake. But they have 2 kids together, and she's determined to make this work. But she gradually, as the Germans take over Paris and Pierre becomes the worst sort of collaborator, she realizes that her mistake may have been even bigger than she originally realized. And she finds herself gradually drawn into work with the resistance, bringing her into the orbit of a handsome and mysterious Englishman.
Is there any other kind?
Well, there are many other kinds of Englishmen.
But these lives all intersect at some point. I mean, they never, it's just the way it comes together is I don't know. I think I've loved all the books that we did, but this one, I just love the way the story comes together. It's really.
I think we had a wonderful sense, and I remember it was pouring down rain. We were at Palmetto Bluff in South Carolina. We were outlining this book, and as we're kind of getting to the final chapters and everything's starting to come together, and we're getting these just wonderful connections between the characters and the light bulbs or maybe there was the lightning. I don't remember, but anyway. We just realized, wow, this book is really, really special. These characters are special. And the way everything comes together, I mean, we were practically crying as we're like scribbling with our cold.
We were crying. We sobbed over the ending of this book.
Yeah. So that when it came out in January, I think we've been getting so much lovely, lovely reviews and feedback from readers. And then we have just started our next book, which will be set in
Newport,
Rhode Island. We were supposed to go up in April to research and plot, but thank you, Karuna. We were not able to, so we did it by FaceTime, I guess it was.
I think FaceTime, yeah. We kept it simple. And so it's all outlined. We're just waiting for Karen to finish her latest.
I know, which will be, within the week, and I will start ASAP. Very excited about this book as well. I think we've really, the first book was like, can we do this? Yes. And then we really, our confidence has grown, and like now we I don't know, we just jump right into it. And I'm very
practically look forward to working together because it's such a refresher. Because when you're writing books, you have no idea what you're doing or if your characters make sense. But when we work together, you have 2 other people who have your back, and that's amazing. So we're all like, can we start the next book now?
No, I know, and I want to. this book that I'm working on right now, it's the 7th book in the Trad Street series. It's, you know, I know a lot of people are like waiting for this book, and it's made me a little nervous. So I'm like, it's been killing me, but I'm going to finish.
Half the people who came up to us in the signing lines at all the ways we said goodbye book tour were like, Karen White.
And it was always the same line. Karen White, I have a bone to pick with you. There were many bones picked with Karen.
I know, because the last Trad Street book came out in October, and then we were on tour in January. So a lot of people, that was fresh in their memories. I like how you ended that book. Come on. Okay, I'm sorry. So anyway, so that's what I'm working on. It will be done tonight, or I'm going to run away. I'm going to escape to another planet and change my name, because it's got to be done. It's
Well, that's been the other thing. Poor old Karen has had a little bit of name agony over the past few months, as you can imagine.
Yeah, Karen White, really?
Karen.
Not very woke. Sorry. I'm the most unwoke name on the planet right now.
And she will take any name suggestions for her.
Yes, I will.
You know, winner gets a signed copy of her next Trad Street book.
As long as my last name has to start with W, so we can continue with the collaborations. But yeah, so for those of you who I know are dying to know, the next collaboration comes out in January of 2022.
Which, when you think about it, is only a little over a year away.
Yes. Which
means considering we haven't heard right yet is a little alarming.
Yeah, we just write it, that's all.
By then, we'll be able to go back out on book tour, you know. So everybody wear your mask, please, so we can go on book tour again.
Yeah.
The other thing that I really, really, really hope, because I call it my vitamin W, like when we meet together to outline the book, that is the most inspiring 3 weeks that I have all year, honestly, is when I'm with these.
As long as we're not in New Hampshire, where Karen
that was hell.
Well, it was inspiring.
It was inspiring, but so we missed it this year. You know, it was lovely being able to do it FaceTime, but there's something about being together. And so I'm hoping that in May, when the book is due, we will be able to get together in some, you know, horrible place like Palmetto Bluff again, and you know,
we should probably visit, you know, Newport.
That because that's where we were supposed to go, and I would love to.
Karen White says vitamin W. You might think she's talking about our last names, but actually she's talking about all the wine we drink when we are together.
W.
Yeah. Fun fact.
Yeah.
But anyway, should we try? I think we should probably turn it over to. I see some questions have been popped up.
Let's go.
We've actually kind of answered them a bit as we've gone along, but if there's any questions now that we haven't covered just by, you know, our free form talking, we'd love to answer them now.
Yes, anything.
You guys did great. We've gotten several covered, but we have one from Denise that says, have you sold any of your co-authored books to be made into movie or TV series?
That's the sort of thing where, you know, we've all been down this road many times and have thought things were going to be made into something, and then at the last minute it doesn't happen. Talk to Karen about the Trad Street series. But, you know, so right now we sort of have a policy, unless something is officially announced or they're actually filming, we don't talk about it.
Actually being streamed right now on Netflix.
We're walking on the red carpet to the premiere. I mean, it's like you never ask the woman if she's pregnant until you see the baby coming out. Then you're allowed to ask, but, you know, other than that, no, we're not. So there's nothing in the works right now. Does that mean there won't be? It would be lovely. I think these books are very visual. I think they would translate very well to a movie or, you know, TV. I mean, there's so many streaming devices now. I just, and honestly, come on, Tiger King. I mean, we couldn't do better than that.
Come on, guys. Plus, Karen has this amazing Kate Spade dress for the premiere that she's dying to use.
I know, it's been hanging in my closet for years, and I'm really dying to wear it. So, yeah. So, not yet is the word, but if you know anybody.
Well, I know people can buy the rights and then not decide to make it. So I'm sure,
I think we've all been there. I mean, they pay you and everything, and you keep the money, and then nothing happens. It is the most bizarre. I mean, our husbands are all like in the banking finance industry and business, and they're like, how is this sustainable?
They all find it equally bewildering. They're like, does publishing want to make money?
Yeah, I mean, I guess the thing, well, to be fair, my husband, that's, he's no longer in the banking and finance world, but, I think that if you think of, the stock market as a gamble, you put your money in a whole bunch of different things and hope that one of them, makes a ton of money. I think Hollywood would probably top that by a lot. I mean, they just put, throw in a whole bunch of projects and hope that one of them comes to fruition. And out of that comes, as Karen said, Tiger King. I mean,
you just can never tell.
Lynn just said it took 23 years for Outlander to be a series. It could still happen.
I know. No, we're not,
I mean, maybe
you want it done right. So
yeah, you cannot be an author we've all been in this business for a long time. And I think to be an author who's been in this business for as long as we have, you have to have an amount of optimism, because there's a lot of crap out there, there's a lot of bad stuff, that happens, and you just kind of have to roll with the punches and just write the next book. And that's what we'll do.
Really, you have to be in this business, you have to really love the writing and the stories. I remember a debut author I met who told me, she wasn't working on the next book because she was just waiting for that first one to be made into a movie. And I thought,
Has she written a second book yet?
Yeah. See, I mean, and
I think it also helps
writing right now, but I'm, the thing, and I have to say, I thank you to all of our readers, because I'm at the point right now where I'm a little discouraged. I'm a little, things going on in the world and in my life. And I'm just like, why? I just can't, I'm going to open my computer. I'm on deadline. And it's like, I don't want to do this. And then, I get a lovely email from a reader like, oh my gosh, I can't wait for the next Trad Street series. I've been following them along. And I mean, y'all sustain us. I mean,
really?
If you were reading our books, we would not be writing, because this is hard. It is hard work. I mean, I know we like to think we're all Barbara Cartland, with the pink feather boa and the pool boy.
You don't have a pink feather boa?
No, I wish.
I had a pink sofa and somebody who'd I think she would just dictate her novels to a poor secretary.
It is really
write a book about these
eyeballs every single day. It's really hard. So thank you for the lovely emails and the comments. I mean, you're the reason why we write. I mean, if you weren't reading our words and being excited and enthusiastic about the next one, we wouldn't do this. It's just hard to do.
I think, speaking personally, and I think Lorna, because we had children during this whole experience, my oldest came home from college on March 13th. School then shut down. I had my other 3 kids home 24/7. I was running this B&B for all these incredibly hungry people, and also in charge of all their emotional needs. And I'm trying to finish a book, and I've got a book coming out. And I mean, it was, and then there's just all this uncertainty going on in the world. And I can't tell you how many times some lovely message from a reader just turned my day around. So thank you all so much for all that. And of course, my Unibrain, did we mention that's what we call ourselves? Did we mention the Unibrain? Karen, what is the Unibrain?
I'm not even gonna, because they make fun of me because I got
might have had a little vitamin W.
Once.
How many brains is it, Karen?
Okay. One brain.
One brain.
Not 3 brains in one head. That's different. That's one head, and I will never live it down. You make one mistake and then you can never.
One mistake on the first night of book tour.
That's it. Tired.
A little too much vitamin W.
A little too much.
For vitamin W, but I just echo what Beatriz said. I was home with a 2-year-old and a 6-year-old in lockdown in New York City from March 11th up through the first time we left our apartment was the middle of June. And no childcare, no school, a husband who works a very full-time finance job, and getting those emails. And what made me happy
I've left my shovel in my car the whole time, just in case she needed
it. Thank you. Well, my children only flooded the apartment once while I was on deadline. It was really a very small flood. I appreciate that. But I would start getting emails about books I wrote over a decade ago. And it really made my day to know that people are still reading them and connecting with them, and that those characters brought some joy during this horrible, horrible time. And I heard characters talking in my head again who I haven't spoken with in years, which I realize makes me sound crazy. But, as an author, you hear your characters talking to you. And so thank you to everyone who's been reading our books and emailing us. It does make such a difference, especially when the kids have flooded the kitchen.
We have a few comments that say, Becky said the feeling is very mutual. We thrive on escaping with y'all. Lizzie says, I love all your books and reading this has sustained me during this crazy time. I appreciate all your hard work. Becky said her last flight was your best. Go, Beatriz. Eileen has agreed with Becky. Her last flight was excellent. And then Carrie said, your books helped me stay sane during all this mess. I'm so grateful for the three of you. We love you, ladies.
Just out in June.
And we do have a question about, will you guys ever reveal who wrote which part of the 3 books?
No. The funny thing was we were going to reveal this as part of the whole marketing plan for The Forgotten Room. We were going to have a contest or something. But we started getting the early reviews back about how, oh, it's so seamless. It's like one author wrote it, and then people would try to and they get it wrong, and we suddenly thought, it's not, you're not supposed to know who wrote which, and I think it's kind of a triumph for us if you can't tell, because the whole point is that it is supposed to read like a single novel, so it's a fun parlor game, I think, for everybody, but we kind of came to the realization that the point is that it's a novel, it's not an anthology, it's a novel, and you should just think of us as one very large person drinking a very large glass of wine. That's really.
Last name is wine. Yes, with the W. Yes.
What's your wine of choice?
Pinot. This is okay. So
we always ask, the first question we got asked on our very first book tour together, we're talkers, we can talk about anything, but we all stood there silent. The question was, how do you resolve conflict? And
that was not the very first question. The very first question, right after we finished our.
Sorry, the second. Yeah.
Did you rehearse that? And we actually started laughing because we were standing there as we were being introduced, thinking, "Oh my gosh,
we've talked about what we could say."
So we just launched and started.
We got this compliment on how well we spoke off the cuff, and then we were asked, how do you resolve conflict? And we were completely stumped and stood there silent, because we realized the only conflict we have ever had is over what kind of wine to order. Because you see, Karen only drinks red.
Yeah,
and
which is like,
Beatriz wants white.
Well, I do. If you got a fish or just something, something just doesn't go well with even a Pinot, so you kind of need some white wine. But then we figured out that we have 2 outlets here. We've got rosé, which is a good compromise in the summer, and there's always bubbly.
Yes,
Prosecco. So usually we just order Prosecco, and then we're all happy.
And the only other time we have a conflict is at dessert time. It's not, do we get dessert? It's how many should we get? So that, honestly, I have to say, like, when we're plotting, there is no conflict. We just make it happen. And I think that's why we work so well. It's like, it's not that we have to try not to have conflict. It's just that we understand that this is a conflict-free zone, and we're going to make this the best dang book that we can. And that conflict isn't just going to be an issue.
And then Pinot Noir.
Yeah. It should be Pinot Noir. Yeah. Because I like winning, but yeah.
Well, it's true that I think it's partly just, if people sometimes say, gosh, could 3 male authors do this together? I mean, because there's definitely, you have to really sequester your ego somewhere else. You have to be like, this is
check it out the door, honey.
Not my book with supporting, this is our book together. And, even if, we're all, and we feel free to throw out ideas, even if we kind of know they're bad and they need work, because they're not going to be disparaged. It's going to be like, okay, wait a minute, if we turn this around so that she's doing that, or she finds out later, or something like that, it's just
jumping off.
And we do this with our own individual books too. When we get stuck, we will text each other and say, okay, here's the exact point I'm at in the book. Here's my problem. Do I do this? Do I do that? And, sometimes we can be brutal with each other, but it's because it comes from a place of love, where I got stuck in the last book with something. I was like, so I think the way I'm going to resolve is this. And both Beatriz and Carol were like, no.
Very nice.
That's easy out.
I was like, well, what if you maybe do this. And,
But it's that element of trust,
is he going to give us writing credit? I don't think so. But, we're there.
No, and I think that's why the Unibrain is so special. It's not that we're just writing partners or just friends. We're almost like sisters, and that like we just, to the point where you can finish each other's sentences, like you kind of know where they're coming from, and that there's just a lot of comfort in that. And again, I could not write a novel with, and I love and am friends with so many other authors. Are there 2 other authors out there that I could do this with? And no, I just can't even imagine, no matter how close I am with them. It's a special thing. And we discovered that at Alice's Teacup the first time we tried to plot the first book.
Speaking of your books together, we had a couple of questions about wanting some hints or a little bit of plot hints about your 4th book that's coming out in, I think you said January 2022.
That's correct.
I think we can reveal the time periods, right? We have one in, we're back in the Gilded Age again with one.
It's Newport, Rhode Island. Remember that?
You have to have the Gilded Age.
Think Vanderbilt's Gilded Age, all of that. So we have.
Yes, and we have one in the 1950s.
Which is
obviously means that Lauren is writing the 1950s character. Or does it?
But given my new haircut, yeah.
Original.
I love this.
We have modern time. So, which will not include 2020, because no writer in their right mind is going to write about 2020. Because
although actually I saw something
be close to each other.
I saw something on Instagram, Che, about someone got very upset because a book had come out that was set in Virginia in the 1940s and 2020. But of course, it was time to come out, summer 2020. And so apparently someone had just reamed it for it not, for the author failing to know there was COVID.
Yeah. What are you going to do as an author with like 40 galleys by the time, before COVID happened?
All who don't understand how the publishing calendar works. Like the book that I'm turning in next week will not be published until October of next year. So have come out 3 years after I've turned them in. Yeah.
I call it author lag because by the time your book comes out, you have written it so long ago, usually.
Yeah.
You can't remember the character names. So,
right. But this book will be Gilded Age, 1950s, and 2019. There's no 2020 because I think every book from now on.
I'm not ready to write COVID right now.
Although I actually started writing a 2020 thing, but just for fun. It was my old Pink Carnation frame character,
right,
in London in lockdown with her family in 2020.
And I'm also planning a specific book, a sequel to The Night the Lights Went Out, that will be during lockdown, during quarantine of 2020. Because unless you specifically focus on that, you just can't. I mean.
Oh gosh, what if I write one with like all the Skylers get locked together in their summer house during lockdown?
Oh my God, that would be brilliant.
In the Hamptons.
Oh, so see, we never get to remember.
Oh God, they kill each other. It'd be beautiful.
We did have a question.
To end the whole Skylar thing is everybody kills each other in the same.
A meteor falls on it.
Very
Right? Or a hurricane comes and just kills them all.
Oh my God, Hurricane Laura.
There you go.
Which is really weird because I'm reading the Little House books to my daughter right now, and here comes Hurricane Laura. So, but I hope everybody out there, I hope any of you who are well, actually, I suppose if you're affected by Laura at this point, you do not have power or internet, so you probably not.
Hopefully you
today, but obviously our thoughts are with anyone in the path of this hurricane. Having written about them, I'm well aware of their power and the terror of being in one. So, hoping everyone is safe.
What would be your dream location for a book?
I would say Ritz, but that didn't work out so well for the research trip.
We have free reign to pick where we want to be, and like Newport was a great suggestion. If we really thought if there were bookstores in Tahiti, we would be writing a book set in Tahiti, so that we could go on tour and research in Tahiti.
What about like Iceland, Karen?
Kill Me Now.
We can put you one of those ice hotels.
Beautiful.
Yeah, an ice hotel. Yeah, Kill Me Now. But like Palmetto Bluff, they have the ruins of the old plantation.
I want to write that one forever.
Yeah, that might have to come into play at some point.
Yeah.
Pretty awesome.
Everyone loves a burnt out shell of a plantation.
Oh my gosh, right?
The glass ocean.
And absolutely we could. So yeah.
If there's ghosts, we can throw in Jack and Melanie.
Yeah, why not? Yes. Yeah.
This is our kitchen sink approach to plotting.
Yes, pretty much. We just throw everything in there and see what sticks. What doesn't go down the drain, and then we're like, okay, it's left. Let's pick that.
But this is what our conversations sound like. We just throw all this stuff out until somehow something forms at the middle. It's like making stew. You just keep throwing stuff in, and eventually something comes out of it.
Yeah, and it's amazing.
Flavor.
Sorry,
Any
Jack.
more questions? Because we could go on.
Jackie's trying to speak.
You do.
Be quiet,
We
Beatriz.
haven't been together in so long that we're just literally,
We're starved.
we are longing for some, W time.
W time.
No, I love it. I was just gonna say, listening to you guys talk to answer the questions makes me kind of imagine that it's similar when you guys are tossing out ideas and discussing your books.
God, if you know what we should give away as like a charity prize is somebody gets to spend a day sitting in the corner while we're doing our plotting session.
Is that a prize or a punishment?
Yeah, well, you might get whiplash.
Oh, we have one more question. Camille Wilson asks, I was wondering if you prefer to write standalone or series novels.
I'm going to answer that. Oh, actually, you should answer that because you're finishing up a series right now.
Yes, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I never want to write another series as long as I live, just because I'm on book 7. But I'm about to start a new series. It's a spin-off of the Trad Street because the hardest thing about a series is knowing when it should end. And as most of us have watched Moonlighting, we've watched Castle, and we know that when the two main characters get together,
It's over.
it's over.
And
And
drag it out.
right. So that's why in the Christmas series of Trad Street, I had Jack and Melanie, the two main characters. They were not together at the end. So of course, that's what this book has to be about, their relationship. And of course, ghosts and everything else. So I want to leave them alone so they can live their happily ever after. They've earned it. They've been through 7 books so far, being tortured along the way. It's time to leave them alone. It's hard to say goodbye. And that's why my publisher is like, well, would you like to write a spinoff? I'm like, sure. And now I'm thinking, oh, for heaven's sakes.
What was I thinking?
What was I thinking? So, but what's nice is when I'm doing collaborations and standalones and series, I call they're palate cleansers. If you're doing them back to back, it's tough because you get kind of like, not bored, but you're like, I just need something different. And so going back and forth from the collaboration, it really is a palate cleanser, and that'll be the fun part.
And, I am just last Saturday, I started work on the 3rd Wicked City novel. And it has been such a joy to return to, this was only book 3. I'm not burnt out on these characters yet. It was so wonderful to return to them and to slip back into Jin's voice, which is one of my favorite voices I've ever written. And I've been thinking about this book for literally like 2 or 3 years. So I know all the stuff that I want to do with these characters in this book. And still it kind of surprised me a little bit that it's so wonderful. Everything that I've been like just sort of dying to tell readers about, I'm finally getting to put on the page, and I've been like racing through this. It's been like fantastic writing. So right now I'm like, yay, series. And then in the back of my mind, I'm thinking about my next standalone and what that's going to be and what it looks like. I'll be starting that after the first of the year. So, I think Karen's right. Mixing it up is what really keeps everything fresh. I mean, I think you get into a rut, you start doing the same thing over and over again. Mixing it up really kind of gets you shifting lanes creatively, and that's a good thing.
Yeah, and I was definitely happiest when I was writing a series book a year and a standalone a year. But then I had children who thought that naps were something that happened to other people. And so 2 books a year became unsustainable. But I really, really missed writing a series and having that interwoven world where every coming into a new book feels like a college reunion, where you see all the people you loved, all the people you hated. It's this familiar territory and you're nostalgic for everything. And so I really—
You know what everyone's going to do.
Yeah.
You know each character. You know the characters. I think the problem with standalones, when you're starting with a blank page and blank characters you haven't met
Like
before.
walking into a party where you don't know anyone.
Know anybody, and you're just want to hide in the corner and watch them for a while. Whereas with a series, you walk in and you know who it is, how they're related, how they talk, and who they are, and whether they're shy.
But you also have the wonderful possibility for them to surprise you and to play within the limits you've already set up.
Yeah.
We have a question about the library passage and the pink carnation.
I
want to know too, Beatrice. What's going
Yeah,
on?
I know, library pack, because I got a little burnt out with everything, and I was going to restart as soon as I was done launching her last flight, but I had also just finished my book for next, I can't tell you the title or anything yet because nothing's finalized, but that'll be out next summer, and I just needed some non-writing time for a little while. I was a little on the burnout side. So as soon as the kids are in school, which, so my 2 older ones have now left for college, please, everybody cross your fingers.
Thanks.
That remains true. And then my younger 2 start school. Luckily we live in a small school district. We're out here in sort of, Connecticut, outside of the population zone of Connecticut. So, it's very, very, it's a good spot there. They're going to be in person, in school every day. Again, keep your fingers crossed. Connecticut's done pretty well this summer, knock wood. So they'll be in school starting Tuesday, and they'll be doing sports, which is also key. So they just run. They're just runners, nothing contact at all. And they'll be outdoors. So they should be good. And that is when I will restart the library passage, because I will have my house to myself and I will not be cooking for all these people every day.
Oh.
And shopping for them too.
Yeah.
Anissa says, loves your bookshelf, Beatriz.
Thank you. I think it's so pretentious to have the bookshelf behind you, but this is literally the only corner in the house that does not have some just graceful stack of clutter. At least if it's book clutter, it looks like it's supposed to be cluttered. So, sorry, I feel like it is a little pretentious having the books behind you, but literally it's the only place I have to do this. I'm not going to get disturbed, and I'm not going to show the world how a terrible housekeeper I am. So, but thank you.
Is there anything else you guys just really want to fit in, or I think we're kind of wrapping up on questions, so.
Yeah, maybe, Lauren, what's your next book?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, my next is another standalone.
Yes. Talk about Band of Sisters.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes. I have a bookmark, so you can sort of see the cover if I hold it up really close.
Mm-hmm.
So this one, actually, it's very relevant. It came about because when we were researching all the ways we said goodbye, we needed to know about Christmas customs in Picardy during World War I. And one of the things we stumbled on was a memoir by a Smith alum who was randomly in Picardy during World War I, throwing Christmas parties for French villagers right behind the front lines. And I thought, wait, what are these Smith women doing there throwing Christmas parties? Not that it isn't lovely that they're doing that, but there are shells falling all over. What on earth is this? And so I found out there was a group called the Smith College Relief Unit, a bunch of 18 Smith alums who went over to France at the height of World War I to bring humanitarian aid to French villagers right behind the front lines. And they were very determined. They weren't there for the war effort. They weren't doing stuff for the troops or nursing or anything like that. They were there to bring milk and to start schools and to get livestock to the French villagers and all that sort of thing. It was real humanitarian aid. And they somehow wrangled their way out to the front lines despite French bureaucracy, British Army officers who are like, wait, this is our war zone. We don't want women here. What are you doing? And they were like, sorry, we have a job to do. We're here. And so this is the story of those 18 Smith women who went out there despite it all and stuck it out, even in the midst of a German invasion. And it's one of those truth is stranger than fiction, incredible stories of heroism and sisterhood and finding hope in very dark times. Anyway, if anyone else is an Ellen Montgomery fan, this is my Rilla of Ingleside book. And my 2-year-old just found me. Ollie, you want to say hi to everyone? Hi.
Hi, Tooth.
Out of the basement.
Oh, they let you out of the basement?
I just blind it. I just go, oh, a flashlight.
Oh, a flashlight. Okay, you want to take the flashlight to Daddy? Take the flashlight. Okay.
Yeah, and of course, naturally, my idea for the title was Band of Smithsters, but for some reason, that got cut down.
No.
Whatever.
But yeah, that is a great title. And I remember when Lauren first found that out and she was sharing that with us, and we were like, oh my gosh, that is such a great book idea. And I'm just so happy. I cannot wait to read it. I'm just so excited about
And
it.
as always, the Unibrain played a large part in the creation of this book. Yeah, he wants to tell you about his book too. Okay, darling, that's great. Go tell Dad.
Yeah.
Whoosh, 1, 2, 3. I'll be right there, Ollie.
Oh, sweet.
That's Ollie saying that's all for now.
Before this started, Beatriz and Karen and I were laughing over that guy who got video bombed by his toddler.
Yeah.
And yeah, I really didn't think they could find me here.
Yeah.
I'm up in the attic. This is, yeah.
You guys have been wonderful, though. Thank you. And you have spent an hour and a half with me so far. So I really appreciate it. You guys are absolutely
together. Holy cow. For anybody who does read All the Ways We Say Goodbye, there is a character, Precious, who will be appearing in my book that comes out in April, called, I don't know if you can see
Okay,
it.
is that the most
Nice.
gorgeous cover you have ever seen?
I love my cover.
That's
The Last Night in
gorgeous.
London. And we get to see Precious back in World War II. So if you want to know her backstory, you get to discover it in this book. So
That is so exciting. We have a lot of thank yous for you guys. Thank you so much for your books. Love them and have been fans. Thank you all. And this virtual book talk was lots of fun. Thank you. And
There always, and thank you for the opportunity to get us all together, talking to each other
Thank
again.
you so much.
and thank you all for supporting your local bookseller.
Yes, very
This is so important right now.
It is. I mean, they are a part of the community. They are important to the community, and it's important that we support them during this time. I know it's, you have a choice when you buy your books, and if you can support your local independent bookseller, Hub City or wherever you are, that's much. I mean, come on, the big A word. They don't need your book money. Okay,
That's $200 billion now.
Yeah. Okay. So
200 billion.
it's okay if you buy your, I don't know, your wart medication from them. It's fine, but not your books. Okay.
Because they're not throwing events like this.
No, they're not. They're not supporting authors like Hub City and independent booksellers. So just remember that.
yeah, thank you guys so much. Authors like you taking time to meet with us really helps us and our audience. So thank you.
Thank you. And thank you to everyone for joining us today. We so appreciate your taking the time for your evenings to be with us.
Yes. And keep reading. I think, this is such a hard time, and I think we are all rediscovering books, and I'm reading right now, and I'm like going crazy with deadline, but it has been such a wonderful respite to sort of dive into another world that does not involve COVID. So
Agreed.
yes. So thank you all. Hope to see you on the road when we're back on the road again, and I hope to come to Hub City in person for the next tour, because you do not want to miss a Team W event because you think we're fun virtually, you should see us in person.
We're much better in person after a few cocktails.
Yes,
I
and
can't
we all
wait.
have matching outfits. We're adorable together. So just saying. Yeah.
Bob, either Bowden. The funny thing is, Lauren comes on like I have that exact same dress from J. Crew Factory.
Yes, we own all the same clothes.
Sad. Yeah. And boots. Remember our boots for the last
Oh.
tour?
Yes.
Perfectly coordinated for the events. I love it.
So thank you, Jackie. Thank you, Hub
Yep.
City. Thanks to all the readers. Y'all
Thank
are
you, everyone.
so appreciated. Good to see you, Carrie.
Good night, everybody. Stay safe.
Thank
Good
you again
night.
so much.
Good night, y'all.